Hello, everyone, or should I say hello, dissidents, assuming you found this channel through the Do Dissidence channel. If you did not find this channel through the Do Dissidence channel, if you don't know what Do Dissidence is, then don't worry about it. You don't need to know anything about that. What you got to know for now is that this is my new venture, a little side project, which I've been thinking about doing for a while. It's called The Shuffle, Music Reviews and Retrospectives from a Gracelessly Aging Millennial. That's me. And I decided to start this podcast for one reason: extra money. No, I was going back and forth on whether to do a movie show or a music show for a long time, as many of you know. Music and movies were really my first loves. I loved art as a kid, but I had, undiagnosed ADHD for my entire life, up to and including now, which made reading long form books and novels just extremely difficult, like physically difficult. Not that I didn't like it, but to me, reading words on a page is tedious. I don't process words on a page the way a lot of people do. Like my wife can read, a whole page in, maybe 20 seconds. It'll take me 80, 90 seconds because I have this thing where I as I'm reading the words, I'm saying them out loud to myself. So I can't really read any faster than I could talk. And it just made reading, 3, 4, 500-page novels impossible. It's part of the reason why I got into the news and got into political stuff, because, I enjoyed reading like newspaper articles, magazine articles. So I was able to stay on top of the news a lot because I could read short form pieces with a beginning, middle, and end. It took me 5 minutes and then on to the next piece. But to sustain a level of focus to get through a big book, very, very rarely could I do that, unless I was really, really in love with the book. But movies and music were my first loves. And so I love listening to music, watching movies, talking about them, discussing them, nerding out on them, listing my favorites from this year or this genre or by this artist or whatever. And so that's what we're going to do here. And what made me land on the side of doing a music show is that I thought to myself, well, if we talk about movies, especially like if I'm reviewing a new movie, first of all, I have to get to the theater to see it, which is a 4-hour investment. As a father of 3, I rarely have 4 hours to go and spend on a movie. And it is 4 hours when you think about it. I mean, you got to drive 15, 20 minutes to and from the theater. Plus, they make you sit through a half hour of trailers now. And if it's a 2-hour movie, by the time all's said and done, you are definitely committing, 3 to 4 hours a day on that. That's one thing. The second thing is, if I recommend a new movie, now you, in order to know what the hell I'm talking about, you have to go and see that. You have to devote 3, 4 hours of your time and plunk down $20 for a ticket or, whatever it is. And then tell me what an asshole I was for recommending it when you realized that it sucked and it wasn't worth your time or your money. But the thing about music is, now with the internet, just about any piece of music that I mention on this show is going to be searchable and playable essentially for free within seconds of me mentioning it. A lot of you probably have, Spotify or Apple or YouTube Music or Amazon Music. But even if you don't have any of those like paid subscription services, you can find a ton of stuff. I mean, a ton of stuff, just about everything you can think of on YouTube for free. If you just search it, it'll just come up as a video. Obviously, like the big stuff that we'll talk about quite a bit, the classics, right? I say, enter Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. That'll come up a million times on YouTube. But even a lot of the more obscure stuff, like, for example, this song, Hellfire, by the African Jazz Pioneers. Bet you'd never heard of that one. I hadn't heard of this one until a few weeks ago. Came up on my shuffle. Ha ha. And I loved it. I listened to it like 5, 6 times over. Great tune. It's a great genre of music. Really cool band. If I recommend this song to you, you can search this into YouTube and you can find out whether you agree with me or not. Literally in seconds for free. And so, the advent of streaming makes, a channel like this kind of fun and exciting because it'll make it very interactive. You know, this streaming stuff was very disruptive to the music industry. It's a double-edged sword. There are a lot of good things about it. There are a lot of bad things about it, which, of course, we will no doubt get into in future episodes. But the accessibility of all this music makes a project like this really fun because it allows you guys to take in a lot of this stuff and then not only give me the feedback in the comment section, but give each other the feedback in the comment section. You know, Russ and I on the Do Dissident show both come from theater backgrounds. We both love music and movies, and on occasion the subject comes up in the show. And we realize when we start talking about music or films, as we just did a couple episodes on Rob Reiner due to his tragic murder, we notice when we talk about movies on the show, or music on the show for that matter, it gets a conversation going in the chat. It gets a conversation going in the comments section. And so hopefully you guys can sort of take these videos as conversation starters and comments to each other on the comment board and learn from each other and discover new cool stuff to listen to through each other. I know it's really exciting finding new music that I like, finding a new band that I like, or a new group or a new artist. And so hopefully we can all kind of do that together over here, build a nice little community on the channel. That's kind of the name of the game. When I was a kid, my uncle was a drummer, and he loved all different kinds of music. He had a huge collection of CDs, a whole wall of his room. And he had in his van a 6 CD changer under the passenger seat that he could control from the main control deck on the dash. And I thought that was the coolest thing because he could have a mix of stuff available to him and he could pick and choose what he wants to listen to while he drove without having to fumble and open a case and switch a disc out and stuff like that. He just had, 70, 80, 90 songs by up to 6 different artists just ready to go. And for me, it was always because I just had the one CD that, my car took in. I would have to kind of pick and choose what I wanted to listen to. I'd take a handful of stuff if I was going on a long drive in case I wanted to switch it up. And because I got ADD, a lot of times I would listen to 3 songs off of one album and then, all right, I'm kind of sick of that. Let me switch it up. Let me fumble with this. And, it was, it's not the safest thing to do, to be honest. But that made this thing, when it came out, an absolute game changer. An absolute game changer. Because I had a lot of CDs. When I was growing up, when I got old enough to start, earning my own money through the, stupid Pizza Hut jobs and stuff like that, that was when cassettes had just gone out. CDs had just kind of come in. And because I had really diverse taste in music and wasn't necessarily into the top 40 stuff, I never really got into Napster because, a lot of the stuff that I was interested in listening to just wasn't available through file sharing. So much of the stuff that was available, and the file sharing was stuff that everybody was listening to because that's where everybody was sharing stuff. And so it wasn't much use to me. And so I was kind of old school. I couldn't spend a lot of money on CDs, but there were certain places that had really good stuff for like $8, $9, $10, especially some of the older like classic rock stuff. Like I remember this store called Media Play in the South Hills Mall in Poughkeepsie, New York, was about 20-minute drive from my house, but they had just about every Jethro Tull album for like $8 each. And so, every week I would make a couple $100 cutting pizzas up at Pizza Hut. I could buy 3 of those a week. And so I would. That was like a thing I would do once a week. I would go out there and I'd say, okay, which ones of these can I take home this week? So I had a bunch of CDs. I also, when I got a little older, I started working at Barnes & Noble in the music department. And so they had a bunch of in-store CDs that they would play. And most of it was kind of schlocky, but not all of it. They had some good indie rock stuff that would come through there. And, those CDs I could take home and rip into the laptop and put on the iPod for free. I didn't have to pay for those at all. So, over the years, I amassed a collection of probably 15,000 or so songs. And the fact that I could put them all on this thing and have my entire collection with me at once was just awesome. I still have this thing. It doesn't turn on anymore because now, of course, we put them on the phones. But I never lost this thing because I always loved it. And even after they started putting music on the phones, I would still keep the iPod around. There was still something kind of cool about having an analog device with just the music, where I wasn't going to get interrupted with a ping of a text message or an email, or the phone wasn't going to ring in the middle of the song the way sometimes it does on the phone. So I kept this for as long as I could. The battery did die. It is just a souvenir at this point. But I loved my iPod. I loved my iPod and I never lost it. And one of the features I loved most on the iPod Classic was, of course, the shuffle, because I had thousands of songs on it. I didn't know all the songs that I had. There were some albums that I would listen to and not hear the whole way through. Some CDs I would take home from the bookstore and rip them in without even knowing too much about what they were. And so when I would just hit that shuffle and it would just play the library in random order, I would discover a lot of stuff that I didn't even know I owned. And so that is, of course, kind of the inspiration for this show. And the point of this show, to sort of discover new stuff myself and to hopefully bring the joy that comes with that exploration to all of you. So thanks, everybody, for being here and watching this little introduction. This should be a fun project. There should be a couple videos on the channel right now for your viewing pleasure. There will be more, obviously, in the days, weeks, and months to come. Please smash that subscribe button. We're a new channel now, so we are up against the algorithm until we get some momentum. So please smash that like button and smash that subscribe button. And stay tuned. Thanks again.